Today on Comics Tuesday, get ready for a sight of wings, because we're talking about The Crow. The Crow was written and illustrated by James O'Barr, printed by Kitchen Sink Press. And there was a film adaptation that you might have heard of, and this is a truly great story. And it's told something like this. It starts off following Eric 1 year after he was murdered. But you see, instead of accepting death and moving along, he walks the earth. He has unfinished business. That business is giving these guys the business. Burdened with the memories of what happened to him and his fiancée Shelley. It was some bad stuff. They were together and their car had broken down, and along comes a horrible group of young fellows who killed them. And so the story focuses on Eric taking his bloody revenge. But the real emotional core of the story is the weight that it has emotionally. There's no question that this story gets a lot of its emotional weight from the fact that James O'Barr had experienced some very unfortunate circumstances at the time of writing this. And he used it as a form of catharsis to get out what he was feeling at the time, and it is some heavy shit. And so in between the bloody action scenes, we see Eric return to the home that he shared with Shelley and suffers. He goes through all of the horrible things in his mind, reliving them again and again. But we see later that by being there and keeping her memory fresh in his mind, that there's a lot of good to be experienced there too. And so as the story progresses, we see a lot of the sort of emotional point of view scenes, taking from the sadness to some joy to anger. And we watch as Eric tries to track down T-Bird. And at the end, he ultimately not only kills T-Bird, but does it in the same place that he himself was killed, allowing him to have peace and move along past this mortal realm. And so that's the story. And there are a lot of things that I love in the way that this story is told. For one thing, all the violence. Eric is very violent towards the people he kills, filled with gore and suffering and all sorts of horrible things. And the fact that he's a ghost, being followed by like a bird, it's everything out of a horror movie. So what's really skillful about all that is they successfully mold the reader's experience so you're completely on his side. And as a ghost, Eric has a really interesting set of abilities. He communicates with animals. He's always leading around a crow, a group of cats. He's also invulnerable in a very interesting way because his would-be victims start shooting him and nothing. But just a little bit later, he's sad and he cuts himself and he bleeds and scars. And so that tells us a lot about the way he's being hurt, I guess. And possibly most interesting of all, he seems to be able to read minds or have some form of empathy. So there's just so many things where he just knows is like an unstoppable force. And as I mentioned before, there's all the emotional suffering that brings along reminiscing on good memories. And I think that whole plot says a lot about the nature of love, because all of the suffering is worth it to have the happiness that the other memories bring. And it's a bond that never ends. And also because of the whole mind reading, ESP, whatever, no two characters are treated exactly the same by Eric. It's like there's a small handful that are apparently innocent and he has no ill will towards them at all. It's kind of like a gentle, caring figure to them. But even among his victims, it ranges from just wanting to see them dead for the sake of closure, I guess, to certain ones that truly and purely are evil, and he makes them suffer. And as far as the presentation, the action scenes are breathtaking. The whole presentation is just kind of trippy and out there it kind of makes you question your understanding of it. It starts to feel like a dream, which is very appropriate because the protagonist is a dead man dreaming. And the purpose that the whole story serves is to pack an emotional punch. You as a reader will be manipulated into feeling every feeling imaginable. And it's because it comes from a place that is genuine. You know, it's all on the page and it's palpable. So for the sake of all that, this is one of the most powerful comic book stories you could possibly read. And now, since the early 90s when this was written, it has continued to this day. And among the Crow meta-series, it's very hit and miss. So if you like this story and want to continue on, try some of the other ones. I'm looking at you, Kurari. But regardless of whether or not you like any of the continuations, this story, the original, is a classic. And if I had to say that this story has some lesson in it, it's this. It's okay to be sad, feel things. And love is forever and ever. So with all the suffering and melancholy of this story, just keep in mind, it can't rain all the time. And that just about does it. So now, it's time for a segment that I like to call Current Comics. So the thing out right now that I want to talk about is The Flash, issue 44. And spoiler-ish alert, in that you totally knew this was coming, but it's here. It seems that Wally West now has become Flashed, and is going to be able to haul ass. You see, Wally West is my favorite Flash, so the fact that he's going to be, hauling ass and flashing makes me happy. Now, what do you think about it? Go ahead and comment down below. And don't forget to like this video, subscribe to my channel. Come back next time for Comics Tuesday. Next time on Comics Tuesday. How many superheroes does it take to screw in a light bulb? Thanks for watching.